Alrighty, so we're moving along with our development process, and this video will cover step 4 of updating the search component to send data to the search route. So let's go ahead and open up our file searchcomponent.ts, and we actually want to copy the selector so we can use it in our main application. Now let's move over to our app component.html, our main app. So let's move down into our page container. And for the section for the header desktop. So currently there's a section here for a form. We're actually going to use our search component in place of this. So I'll just give me some white space here, and I'll just drop in my selector with a paste. So I have the start and end tag for my selector, app search. So this is our new search component, app search, that we just created a little earlier. So lines 25 through 30, I'll actually comment out this code because I don't want to use it right now. I want to just test to make sure my new search component shows up in my application. Alrighty, and if I look at my search component.html, right now it should simply say search works, and that's fine. I simply want to make sure that this part of the app actually works out. So let's go ahead and run our application real quick and test this out. All right, so swing over to the browser and visit my application. Okay, this looks great. So it says search works. So that's the information from our search component. So we know that the component is up and working. Now we can go ahead and start with some real business here. So I'll swing back over to my IDE, and I'll move back over to the app component.html. So that code that I commented out, I actually want to copy that or cut it and move it to my search component. So let's go ahead and select this information and do a cut. And then we'll move it over to our search component.html. So I'll remove everything here and just drop this in, remove the comments, do a quick little format here in this document. And now I'll make some changes. So in this example, we're not using forms. We'll simply make use of divs and input components. We'll talk about forms later in the course, but for now, we'll just simply take the div and the input component approach. So I'll set up a div. I'll remove the part here for the onSubmit and the method. We'll make use of event binding and our methods that we'll call in our application. Give me some extra white space here so we can see things a bit better. And I'll kind of move around these attributes a bit just so they kind of appear in normal order. So I'll go ahead and move in here and add a template variable, my input, the name of it, so we can read that data later. And I'll just move some things around. So text appears there. Drop this down on a separate line for class. Get rid of the name attribute so we don't need it. And then this placeholder, I'll move this right up here. All right, so we have the actual template, the type, placeholder, and then the class. And then we'll say search for products. And then we'll also add our event binding or event handler. So in the event that the user presses the enter key, then we'll call do search and we pass in myInput.value. So we use that template reference value. We'll listen for that event and then we call the method in our Angular code. And again, this could be any method name. And we simply pass in the text that the user typed in into that text field. And we've seen all this before, right? Okay, good. And then we'll do a similar thing here for our button. So we remove the type portion of it. And we add our event binding here. So on click event, then we'll call that do search. And again, just a little copy paste here, do search of myInput.value. And that takes care of the search button here for this given application. Okay, so moving in here, let's go ahead and add the supporting code for the search button. So I need to move into the code here for my search component.ts. So the first thing we need to do is inject the router into our component. And then we'll add that method that's called by the actual HTML page. So the method name is doSearch. They're going to pass in a string. So that's the actual value or the keyword that the user entered. And in the code here, we'll simply do a console.log on that value just so we can look at it for debugging purposes if we need it. And now I'll use this.router.navigate by URL /search/the value. All right, so zooming in here, so we're actually going to call that route search with a given keyword. So we're going to append that to this given URL. So we're routing the data to our search route. It's going to be handled by the product list component. And again, you're probably wondering why product list component. We simply want to reuse the logic in Vue for listing products. So we've already done that work before. There's no need to reinvent the wheel.